Sounds spicy. Too bad nobody's here to hear it but me. Hey, Cousin Mike, Cousin Magic Mike. What's going on? I see you got the mohawk rocking. Nice. How are things going in Idaho? Things are going really good here in Michigan. Picked some, I'll probably tell you this a whole bunch of times. Oh yeah, the chicks dig it. Hell yeah. Mofo, what's up? How's it going? So guys, I got 30 pounds worth of golden oyster mushroom. Now these are food mushrooms, not mushroom, but you know, so tasty. Yeah, there was a couple of them that were that big and weighed 3 pounds. Rained all day. It rained really good last night for a long time, and it wasn't a hard rain, but it was a good soaker rain, and it's appropriate for the season. Everything's starting to get leaves on the trees and bud up. You can definitely tell it's May. But yeah, so I've been cleaning, I've been dismantling mushrooms and soaking them and getting them clean, and then putting them out on paper towel and patting them dry and getting them put in Ziploc bags. And yeah, I've been eating like a king lately. Oh man, they're mucho tasty. Have a real beefy flavor to them. Like I want to do them in beef and noodles for sure. And picked up a set of Mickey Thompson fin valve covers for small block Chevy. And even though I'm a Mopar guy, picked up some finned. My nephew has a small block Chevy, so, and he's 16, and he has a car. So, what else is his gearhead uncle going to do? So, yeah, I'm going to be polishing out a set of finned aluminum valve covers, and they're going to shine. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good. Even though I get covered in aluminum dust while I work, but wear breathing protection. I think I'm going to polish them out real good. I think I'm going to do the old school trick where you tape everything off and then you just paint the whole top of it. And then you go back through and you sand all the paint off of the raised surfaces, so just the inside of the fins are painted. And his color is kind of like a petty blue, like that right there. And so I think I'm going to find that petty blue, or I might even brush paint it. You never know. Depends on how wild and crazy I get. But yeah, I'm getting everything polished out, and I'm doing 5 grits, 60 grit, sand, 60 grit. I did that with sandpaper rolls on my DA, my die grinder. 60 grit, 320, 600, 1000, 1500, 2000, no, 1500, 2000. Then I have a 3000 grit polishing cloth that I follow with that, and yeah, it'll lay down the shine. Impressive. And it's all done except for the first step done with the DA, but most of it all by hand. So has there been anything interesting happen in anyone's world today? Dirt bikes are out. Hear them? Big 4-stroke. low grunt, lots of torque with a 4-stroke, single cylinder. What a mother those things are to start. If you don't have a decompression, you might be going up over the handlebars or breaking your heel. 500 Hondas, 500 Kawasaki's were good for that. Yeah, in my area, it's legal to drive dirt bikes and side-by-sides and quads on the road. And boy, the side-by-sides have gotten popular around here. We've got like big groups of side-by-sides, sometimes 20 at a shot, cruising down the road all together, blaring tunes and cruising, and they all got their different kind of lights on their side-by-side. Some people really deck them out, and some people really put some pounding stereos in those things, which is really surprising. And oh yeah, everyone's cruising by, jamming out to their flavor of tunes, and yeah, I like it. Now he took it easy. Now I've got people that come up the power line by my house, and they basically get off the asphalt and they stand on it. But other people will actually be considerate and wait till they're well beyond my house before they stand on it. But you know, to each their own. On this power line, it doesn't matter what day it is or what time it is. You will see someone cruising the power line. I got up. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, and I let my dog out, and here comes a Jeep towards me on the power line. And I was like, what are you doing off road at 4:30 in the morning? Whatever. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's all sand back there. That's one of the reasons why I don't go back there, especially with a daily driver. Sand tears stuff up. Played with a lot of dune buggies, and the sand is just no fun. But what I want to do is, because it's all sand back there and it's a great spot to play, I wouldn't mind someday building a buggy. And I want to do just a regular tube chassis. I want a 4-seater, and I want to do it mid-engine with an Oldsmobile Tornado 455 driveline in it. So have that in the rear, and then just set the front end straight and run everything Oldsmobile that involved the front end of that car, including the whatever that automatic is. I can't think of its model off the top of my head. I know it's a 420. I think it's a 425. So that should be pretty fun in the sand. And I'll just have Oldsmobile disc brakes all the way around. Things should stop good. Be a lot of fun, I think. No, I'm not going to go twin engine. I'm not that crazy. At least not yet. Oh, that same old 455 driveline they put in GMC motorhomes too. They look like a big Tylenol pill, and they have a tandem axle in the rear. They actually ride really nice because of that, because of how the rear axle's suspended on it. A guy I knew would take them and cut them apart. He'd find roached ones, and he'd cut them apart and use that torsion arm suspension, tandem suspension for trailers and stuff. But now they're highly sought after. So yeah, you won't be cutting any of those up unless it's really far gone. Then again, I destroyed a 71 Travco engine for the big block. It had a small fire in the interior, and it was hard partied in for decades. Like it was left at someone's place and they just partied their asses off in it. Everything was just broke to shambles. The only thing that still was good was the driver's area, the driver's seat and the passenger seat, and the doghouse. That was all fine. But basically, draw a line behind those seats all the way back. Nope, it was a wasteland. You know, if you really wanted to, well, no, the fire. But yeah, in a day, we cut the body off of that Travco fiberglass. And it was actually like two big fiberglass halves, and the thing went together like this. It was cool to see how it was constructed. But yeah, it looked like a parade float when we were done. We had it stripped down to its wood floor. I took all the windows out. I had everyone and their brother over to help me. I think the crew was maybe a dozen people maximum, and they were ripping the interior out, and I was outside pulling all the glass out of it. And actually, that was a job within itself. But I tackled all the windows from the exterior, and then finally moved in. And then after lunch, we actually were cutting the roof off of the thing, cut it into big old sections, and then we trimmed it up. And then we ended up taking it as panels that fit in the back of a truck up to the dump. And we had to pay to make it leave, but it left. Excuse me. Had an enormous Dana axle in it. It must have been like a 12-inch or a 14-inch. It was huge. And I had no use for that. But a friend of mine ended up using it. Oh, I see we got glare. Okay, hold on. You're going to get a cleaning. Yeah, that's way better. There. You feel better now? Did you wash behind your ears? Yeah, if I have a little grease on that camera lens or filth on the camera lens, it makes these things look like big beacons of light when they're really not. It is a beautiful evening. Sun setting. Once again, because the weather's nice, I got the shop door open. Why not? And as always, you'll hear the fridge run as this live goes on. You're on top of the beer/pop fridge. Ooh. Here he comes. Sport bike. He's got it wound up. Oh, it's a rig. Or a tractor. It's a field sprayer. It's hydraulically operated, so my ear hears something turn up real fast and high. It was really the hydraulic motors turning, but from a distance, it sounded like somebody was on a crotch rocket pouring on the throttle. Beep! That sounds like here he comes hot. Just sounds hot. Wasn't really hot. Notice the fields, cornfields over to the west of me are tilled. So either they're already seeded or they're going to be seeded for corn. And they're cute. By later in the month, you'll see the little itty bitty green shoots and straight lines. And it's so crazy that in May, there'll be these teeny little things that tall, not even an inch, with two little leaves on it. And then by October, especially on those fields, because they got their own watering system, those things will be 10 feet tall. And I'm not joking. They tower. They're just well taken care of. And yeah. Actually, I'm surprised he grows corn every year. You think he would rotate and throw soybean in there. But he doesn't. He always plants corn. At least he has as long as I've been around. Maybe it's time. Don't know. Soybeans for crop rotation. Because soybeans are a legume. And a legume, like a peanut, will put nitrogen back into the soil. So that's why you'll see farmers do grow corn for a number of years, and then they'll plant soybeans. It's kind of their way of putting something back into the earth. And so yeah, soybeans, and then they'll do corn again. Some guys just keep planting corn, and maybe this is one of those guys, because I don't ever remember beans being planted in those fields since I've lived out here, and this will be 6 years. And there's a lot of vineyards down, well, for Michigan, like here on the west side, on the southwest corner. Here's the state line. Like here, like Benton Harbor area and Paw Paw and stuff like that. They have, yes, a town called Paw Paw, P-A-W, P-A-W. Yeah, they actually have like vineyards, grow grapes, make wine, all that stuff. It's kind of cool when you get off the main roads. You see a lot of vineyards as you drive down the highway, but it's even cooler once you actually kind of get off the highway and start making your way around, and you come across these old established vineyards, and you know that they're ancient. It's cool. It's just neat to see. So much different stuff here in Michigan. What's that brand? St. Julian's. St. Julian's is a Michigan wine. I've recognized that brand ever since I was a little kid. Of course, you see all the billboards for it. You know, wine tasting, wine tours. Well, the chat is absolutely dead. What I like to plant, though, my crop is horsepower. And the care and feeding of that can be pricey, can it? So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting just my nephew's tablet covers all polished out. And I have a set of wheels. They come off of a 2000 Lincoln Town Car, and it's an aluminum wheel with holes in it, and it looks a lot like drag-light wheels, except it's a factory Ford cast aluminum wheel with they're 16-inch, but it's only like a 4.5-inch wide tire. And I'm like, and it's 4 on 5.5 or 5 on 4.5 bolt pattern. And I said, those will fit my Dodge. So the hub eccentric is too small on the Ford. It needs to be opened up just a little bit, but they'll for sure work. So I'm going to have skinnies on the shop truck when I drag race. Nice. But they were rough cast aluminum. They had a frosted look to them. And once a couple winters ago, for something to do, I sanded those things down and tried to polish them. And it was the beginning of me polishing aluminum. And they're glossy, and they look okay from like 50 feet or further. At first, you're like, check those out, and you get up close, and you're like, yeah. I didn't sand them well enough, like down to it, and there's still some of that frosting still there. And then plus deep scratches, because as you polish the metal, you have to take your sanding scratches of the previous grit completely out before you go to your next grit. Otherwise, it all shows. And yeah, I learned that the hard way. So yeah, maybe after I got a lot of work ahead of me on Justin's tablet cover, so I may run out of gumption to actually redo those aluminum skinnies. I need to get my valve springs measured though for the 413 project, so I can figure out whether or not I can use a shim or whatever and get my seat pressures right for the 413, because I got those aluminum heads that I ported, and yeah, I'd like to get those up and going. I'd want to get at least shop truck's engine fully assembled, at least fully assembled. I'd like to have it stuffed in the truck, and Then I'm getting an automatic from 6%. Then so I hopefully will have a drive line installed. The whole time I've owned Shop Truck, it has not had a drive line. I bought it without a box. I bought it without a drive line. Because it had a small block, I was going to run big block, and it had a homemade step side box. The guy had just made a homemade box, and then he used Ford dually 80s Ford dually fiberglass flares for the dually wheel. He used those as wheel wells for his step side. It actually looked cool when it was done. It was janky, but it actually looked cool. And he's like, "Oh, you want that step side box, don't you?" And I'm like, "No, I just because it's a short box too." And I'm like, what I really wanted was a step side Dodge box, but oh my God, they are proud of those. And the scary thing is like it's the same box from like 1950 something all the way through to the 80s, and it's the same box. And there was a long box and a short box, and the long box looks weird because you got this big wide space between the cab and the wheel well. When you're used to the short box, it has a little space between the cab and the wheel well. But yeah, so if you've got one that's actually not beat to crap, yeah, they're proud of those. But I ended up going to a salvage yard in Ionia, and got myself a okay short box. Well, it's the one you see on Shop Truck. It's got a little rust, but it's not bad, and nothing that a little rust repair panels couldn't repair, which I ended up picking up in a deal when I went and got the other truck body, the cab that's on Shop Truck. I bought a whole nother truck that was just the cab, a complete cab on a chassis with axles. And he's like, "Do you want rust repair panels for the box?" I got those. I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, here's the rust repair panel, because my floor does on that newer cab does have a rust hole, but it's that big. It's just where your heels would be as you're driving the truck. But other than that, the cab is amazing. I mean, it's all there. The truck cab that I took off literally was missing a quarter of it. The cab would sit like this. If this is the front of the vehicle, the cab sat like this on the truck. And the front clip was just hung on it. And you could see how the fender and the cab sat like this. The fender was that far from the door at the bottom because it was settled so bad. And yeah, I'm happy I put a whole other cab on that truck. Shop Truck's going to be nice. And then I don't know, I might not, because I took I dropped the suspension pretty good on Shop Truck. First, I used Dodge B van, the actual full-size Dodge van, lower control arms. And then the lower control arm, the truck lower control arm is shaped kind of like this, and then the spring sits like this. So it sits higher. In the Dodge van, it's like this, and the spring sits down in a pocket. And it's the same control arm. So I bought a set of those and swapped them in, and then doing that with my spindles at stock height, I think I took 4 inches, a solid 3. I think I took 4 inches out of the front of my suspension on uncut springs and stock spindles, and it really lowered the front. And then I put 2-inch lowering shackle in the rear, and then it still had a way too stink buggy look, like it was way up too high. So then I went back, and then I took the front spring perch and I moved it from down. I took it off, broke the rivets, inverted it, turned it upside down, and drilled new holes and bolted it all back in, and then with backing plates. And then that took a lot of that's how I got shop truck lowered. So yeah, she sits good now, but I've, as low as she sits, I need to get her on some asphalt. I've got mud flaps for it that I saved off of that Travco motorhome. And I've got from the same guy I bought shop truck from, he had old school 18-inch, well, you can hardly see them. You won't see them, but on the other side of my shop, I've got the mud flaps, and I've got trucker girls, chrome trucker girls, like you see on big rig mud flaps, and they're 18 inches long, and they're probably a solid 6 inches tall. And yeah, they got their little, and they're rusty and rough. And I actually bought them for my friend JMO because he was actually jamming gears. He was living the dream. He went and bought an 83 Kenworth Aerodyne sleeper, and it's a cab over, like BJ and the Bear, if you remember that TV show. And he called it the antique technique. And I always bugged my friend because they never were for sale. And I always bug him, not because I really wanted them, but just to bust his balls. Like, some of those ladies, come on, how about now? Fine, give me $20 for them. There you go. Brought him straight to JMO, and I'm like, boom, you need to throw these on your tractor. And he did. He ran those things for like 45,000 or 50,000 miles, and he had a blowout on one of the rear axles. And when the blowout happened, it sent the tread off of it, and it just annihilated the hanger and the mud flap. And one of the trucker girls, she took an absolute beating. And he's like, I think I hurt one of the girls. And I'm like, they were rusty, and I got them for $20. I mean, oh well. He goes, I'll save her. And they pounded it back, and then one of the studs had gotten broke off, and it just happened to be where her head is, so they weld a new stud in, so now she's got this burn mark on her face. I'm not doing it. I'm not changing a thing. I'm going to run them just the way they are. I thought about having them like sandblasted and powder coated a color, but I don't know. There's something about the ratty chrome, and yeah, classic. So I need to figure out if I can run a mud flap. Are you going to see the girls, or is my truck low enough to where it's not going to work? If that, I mean, they still make a great garage decoration. So, and a conversation piece. My friends' kids at this time are, God, I want to say they're 9 and 10 or 10 and 11. And they see JMO go by in the big rig, and they know his truck because it sticks out like a sore thumb. It was brown, tan, gold, and it had like a, I called it a Snicker bar. It made you think of a Snicker bar, nougat, chocolate, caramel. That's what that truck was. It was a gorgeous truck, all slicked up. Unit number 83 had a Caterpillar in it, and I think it had a 13 in it. And it had the pop top sleepers, so you could actually stand up and put your pants on. We did a lot of work to that truck together, and he bought a whole nother Kenworth tractor, and then off a driver who retired, and he used so many of those parts, he had to seek out new axles. He rebuilt the axles himself after he actually found axles for the truck. And he did all of this while still, for the most part, making a living with the truck. He'd get her together as good as he could for that moment, and then he'd get her out, put her through her paces, and do his turns, and come back home, make some money, and put more into it. He did his first in-frame rebuild on that. And an in-frame rebuild in a big rig is really interesting because you leave the block in the frame and everything just comes out of it. Like your cylinders and your pistons and your connecting rods, you buy those as a kit from the dealer, and they're just in a big can. And then you just go and then you pull everything out, and then you just set everything in. It's really interesting. Camshaft is that big around and about 6 feet tall. Makes a great mailbox post for sure. And yeah, everything in a diesel, big rig diesel engine is mucho. Instead of 5 quarts of oil, it's 10 quarts of oil, or 12 actually. Actually, it's 12 because it's 10 in the block and a gallon per filter, so 12. 15 gallons of coolant, so on and so forth. Everything's big, heavy, and skookum. Valves that big, pistons this big, pistons that have interesting shapes on them. You look at they don't do flat top pistons. You look at a piston top, and then it'll have a castellation around the edge, up and down like a castle wall, and then it'll be like a floor that swoops up, and then it'll have like an island that's flat topped in the middle of the piston. And what that's for is the injector. When it comes up and it throws the charge at it, it's able to spray, and then how that piston is makes the fuel swirl, so you get a better burn across the whole cylinder, so you don't get a hot spot, I think. But that's actually pretty interesting. And in the diesel world, 3,000 RPM is the end of time. 4,000 RPM, you're really singing it. Big turbos, 12-inch housing turbos, 13-inch housing turbos, 15-inch housing turbos, compound turbo setups too, where you have like a 12-inch turbo and a 6-inch, or a 12-inch turbo and a 4-inch turbo, and they're one in compound, so one blows into the other, because the big turbo, even though she throws a lot of big boosty boost, it takes her a while to get wound up to her operating speed before she finally shovels on the boost. So with the compound setup, you take a small turbo to blow into, so the small turbo will come under power and begin really chooching into the big turbo, which will encourage it to come on faster also. Then you really got some boost happening. And then what happens is one of the small turbo, because it's under more of a load than the other one, ends up usually going out first. And what a slug that thing becomes when you have to limp it home from it being dead on the side of the road, and all you have is the big turbo. The small turbo's not already checked out, and she'll do what she needs to do, just not happily. You're waiting for that big boy to come on, and yeah, she'll get there eventually. All right, I'm going to run my empty to the can barrel, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, okay? And the chat is still dead. Does everyone just not have something to say? Oh, okay. I priced out a front tire for my motorcycle, my Honda Valkyrie, And I'm a big fan of Dunlop tires for Hondas, because that's what Hondas got originally, was Dunlops. So I always put Dunlops on Hondas, at least I do. And so I've been running the Elite series of tire for Dunlop, and the numbers have gone up. I remember they were Elites, Elite 1s, Elite 2s, Elite 3s. Now they're up to Elite 4. And I priced a front tire for it, and the front tire on my Valkyrie is bigger than the rear tire on most other motorcycles. Well, it's basically a gold wing without the Honda Bago on it. And anyways, off of Amazon, it's $285 for a front tire. Well, okay, I'll get a good amount of miles out of it. But like I put this tire on, and yeah, she's done. I don't want to ride it anymore on it. When I put her up for the season last year, I was already like, yeah, it'll get me through till the end of this riding season, but I'm not riding in 25 on it, and I'm sticking to my guns. So that's $285 for that tire. And then I got to, just for fun, I'm going to clean the master cylinder and completely bleed the clutch and slave cylinder. And so I did new brakes, new brake fluid and everything last year, and new brake pads. And really, I didn't need to change them, but I did anyway, because I thought things were worse than they really were. Because when you lay underneath the bike and you look up at stuff, it looks way worse there until you actually have the brake pads out and hook your peepers into them, and you're like, oh crap, I could have rode another 2 seasons on it. But I was there, so okay, I changed it out. So yeah, do that. And then maybe later this summer, I want to upgrade to braided stainless brake lines for the system, because those hoses, and this happens on all cars and all vehicles with hydraulic brakes, is your factory brake hoses, if they're not braided, they swell with brake force. So when you apply the pedal, not all of that force is going straight to the piston. Some of it is absorbed by that hose expanding. So the braided stainless is supposed to eliminate that, so you get more braking force to where you want it, to the caliper or the wheel cylinder. So yeah, I'll probably be doing that, because these were manufactured when I was in high school. The date on them is 96. That's when my bike was built. So yeah, I need to replace. They're fine. They're not. This bike never sits outside unless it's being used. Otherwise, she's a garage queen unless it's time to ride. So yeah, I'd like to upgrade the brakes, and then like my motorcycle becomes my daily driver for the season, because that bike gets almost 40 miles to the gallon, and the best my truck does is 18. And 18, I'm like, yeah, big mileage. She'll dip into the high 14s in the winter, and then she'll do 18, flirt with like 18.2, 18.4. But that's, the gods are with me today. The gas gauge is acting funny in that stupid truck. The other day I'm driving, and I got like 3/4 of a tank of fuel, because everything's prepay, and I just throw a dollar amount in the truck, but it's always a considerable amount, at least $60. So I got like 3/4 of a tank of over 3/4 of a tank of fuel. Okay. So I fueled up in town, and I come home in about half an hour, and I look down, and I'm almost home, and my gas gauge is below 1/4 of a tank, and my heart drops. I'm like, oh my God, did I blow up? Did I leak? Did I hit something? I didn't hit anything. Did I leak out my fuel? Did I blow a fuel line, and I'm pissing fuel all over the road or whatever? So I quick get off, stop the vehicle, and trying to